All right, Clayton's Corner, episode 2. Steven Strom, Jack McMullen, of course, Clayton McCullough. And I thought our last episode, I really felt bad because I asked you just baseball questions. And I thought this would be a good time, a little icebreaker. Okay, so I have a couple of questions in here in Golly's winter hat in Miami.
Yeah, can I just say, you just came from L.A. I came from Wisconsin and Indianapolis. It's kind of weird that the Miami Marlins sell winter hats, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's cold in these buildings sometimes.
Come on.
It is cold in here.
It's cold in the building some, and we do have to go play in some cold eastern cities during the season. So, yeah, in Miami, I don't know, but it makes sense here in the complex in Jupiter. You'd be surprised how cold it gets there in, like, the front hallway.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I'm just picking one out.
So Clayton
here.
McCullough, our audio audience, he's picking one. Did you just pick like
I think
two?
I just picked like 9.
I think you got 4. Yeah. What's the one you got?
I didn't see them. I didn't look.
What's this one?
Snack that is your guilty pleasure. Wow. All right, I'm a sucker for sweets at Halloween. So probably like Kit Kats.
Oh,
and,
really?
And I guess I feel better about myself when they come like the smaller version.
Yep.
Maybe you don't feel like, quite as bad, but then when there's like 10 wrappers next to you, I guess it's
equal,
like probably worse. So I'd say Kit Kats and then probably Girl Scout cookies, the Samoa ones.
Samoa's. Okay, I was going to ask. I'm a Thin Mint guy personally, but Samoa's.
Yeah,
got it.
Samoa, right out of the freezer. Samoa,
Yeah, sure.
I've been known to take down a whole sleeve, which is not great, but
Yeah, but again, it's like the mini Kit Kat
it's for the
things.
Girl Scouts though.
yeah, that's what it is. It's for the kids.
Yes, exactly.
But it's funny you mentioned the Kit Kat. I always freeze the Kit Kats. I hate chocolate at room temperature. I have to have it at like a frozen temp. That's my takeaway.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's good to know.
Okay, Clayton. Good icebreaker there. Let's do. We did highlights, lowlights on our podcast on Friday, and there was a lot more highlights and lowlights, which is always a good thing.
Low light was on our end, actually.
Yeah, actually, it was.
We missed a Derek Hill homer on
we
radio,
came back
so that
on-
was our low light.
We came back with a soundbite from you on Davison De Los Santos, so we can blame him. And then Derek Hill decides to go yard on the first pitch. Big highlight was Sandy. Was it everything that you thought it was going to look like?
Yes, I mean everything that he had shown to this point. I think the velo was outstanding, and he'd shown that in his side sessions and his live BPs. Seemed really strong. So the velo, I think that game he got up to 100. A few times he was sitting upper 90s, and not only just the velo, like the ease at which it was coming out. It really like he was playing catch. In the upper 90s. I think he's working hard on. His breaking ball and ability to use that in different ways and some different utility with that, and the changeup. So it was a great outing, and also like it was good that the little bit of traffic. It wasn't like he was ever in trouble, but like just to feel some runners on base and have to pitch in a few of those situations is great in spring training, just to get you battle tested for the season. So I mean it was an A effort.
What's the tick up you typically see from like a side session to in-game setting? Because we watched Sandy throw a side earlier this past week in the ballpark, and I mean he was 95, 96, and like that probably was as encouraging to you as in-game. Oh, he's hitting 100 because he can get there when there's no, I don't know, adrenaline flowing of a game setting, right?
Yeah, right. And I think it's been unique this spring how we've set up our side sessions. And I say we, like our pitching crew, Daniel and Alone and Brandon, with having hitters in the box, and training on a game mound with hitters. Have seen like the guys their practice be maybe a little more intentful than than maybe it would be just in a normal 6-pack throwing. And then sort of our part to continue to like curb some of that effort in those, because again it's they're doing a good job of just trying to monitor, and you don't want guys to get beyond what you'd want in a particular day, but it has added some extra stimulus, and the pitchers are figuring out how to kind of throttle and manage that, because they get a hitter in there and they're competitive,
Sure.
right? And it's a practice session for them, but we've seen that talking about Sandy here in particular, like the velo has been very consistent each and every time he's been on the mound, whether that be competitive versus kind of more of a practice setting.
What's the innings? I know it's like weird with Sandy coming off, but what do you hope that he can max out in spring?
I think he's got a 3-inning piece coming up. It'd be for at least be getting up to up to 5, and some of that in the up. So we still have time on our side here at this point. It'll start running out quickly, but guys on 5 days. So get by opening day where he is up to a pitch count that would allow him to go deep in the game So he should be in a good spot.
How case by case is that build up? Because Sandy, we'll see 1, then 2, then 3. Is that kind of the classic formula that we're going to see from every starter?
And that's what it's been. So Weathers had his 2 yesterday. He missed his first one with the rain out. Cabby has a couple today. Maxwell, be on the same. Belozzo's had that as well. The guys that are going to get stretched out will, to continue to be, 2 to 3. To 4, and that kind of gradual. It's the pitch count raising, also those ups are an important thing. Just trying to get them, even if they go back out for a 4th inning and maybe don't, finish that inning, but it's still important to to get that extra up and get to the pitch count.
One of the low lights that we did have, though, outside of our radio blunder was, and low light is maybe a little bit strong, but Cal Quantrill, not the outing that he wanted to at least start off. It's spring training. Jack had this question, so I don't want to take it, Jack.
Oh, you're good.
Go ahead. I want you to get into that now.
Yeah, it was just unique because I listened to his availability with the media after that, and he's got a really unique perspective that I feel like a lot of guys that would be in a positional battle wouldn't have. Where he came off, he could immediately diagnose what went wrong. Right? It was a timing thing. I was leaving a lot of stuff arm side. How do you manage a guy like that knows it and isn't going to view what may not results look like a success? He's not going to view that as a failure here. He's not relying on the results. It's a feel thing for him this early in spring. How do you handle a guy like that already knows it and diagnoses it right away?
Yeah, well, that's the great thing. Cal's been around for a while.
Sure.
And Cal, very, very, very self-aware. And I think, you go from that outing where certainly wasn't as crisp and, as efficient throwing strikes as he would like. And then, he threw a side yesterday and it was lights out.
Cool.
And it was like, he just took it as, yes, it certainly wasn't what he was, the outing he wanted to have.
Sure.
But it was like, yes, I kind of have an idea of maybe why this was going. I need to change my sights a little bit. And he threw yesterday. It was a lights out pen. He was able to, get his 2-seam back running, on the glove side. And he really aced a lot of pitches. And someone that has, in his case, been around someone, has a feel for his delivery and what he's trying to do. I think we'd see, and going forward, Cal has just the ability to make those adjustments in the game. He's going to be done because he's had to do that before. So I think it's a real pro that understands, himself and, then you come back and it's just flush it. And now what do I need to do in these next 4 days to, right the ship a little bit and just, make the adjustments.
Love the way the bullpen has looked early on. Thought Bender looked really good. Josh Simpson looked really good yesterday. Just the lefty in the bullpen, because it traditionally was Nardi. He's thrown, which is great with the back. But what are you seeing as far as that lefty spot in the bullpen?
Yeah, I think you mentioned Josh was terrific last night. We think very highly of him. Veneziano, is another one there. John Rooney, non-roster, has had a couple of impressive outings. So, there are definitely some lefties there. In the mix that we will count on, whether if it's right away or at some point during the season. And so it was really, I was happy. I think we all were for Josh, to have a really solid one last night. You could tell when he came off the field, he was good. And that's banking that type of confidence. And okay, you kind of, you get past the first outing, and then all right, that's just, there's so
good stuff.
There's so much going into that first one, right? I think we saw with Arias with his first one, and last night it was a lot better. So the first one, kind of a grain of salt, right? But then take a deep breath and just go out there. And like you said, Simpson's stuff is, and he knows that too.
Really
and it's
good.
again like Josh, your stuff is great. Now it's let's get that stuff in the strike zone. Your stuff plays in the zone. Get in there, be on the attack, and give yourself a chance to then expand when you want to.
I know you fielded a couple questions yesterday about the 9th inning, and the beauty is you got options. You got plenty of guys that are capable of throwing 9th and throwing high leverage. This is, your first elongated in-game look at, some of those high-leverage guys from this side of the field, right? You saw them from the other dugout, but Fauché, Tinoco, guys like that. What's impressed you about the way they go about their business in games and just, day-to-day?
Yeah, I think you see while the experience level, varies some, but they have been through it, so I think they have an idea of what I'm trying to get out of spring training, in a secure spot, roster-wise in that case. So we'll use these outings to, whether it's, particular pitches that, you hope that you can utilize more often during a season, and behind the count, maybe, throwing more secondary pitches, trying to strike with it, I think gives them some opportunity to do that. And they've had, have had success in leverage spots, and it'll be nice to have some flexibility to be able to use them at, various points in games where, that highest leverage comes up. Again, it might, could be the 9th inning with Calvin one day, could be the 6th inning with Calvin one day. So that's a part of our, when we continue messaging with them as we get into the season that, look at yourself as just like we believe we have a lot of high quality relievers and, the ability to deploy them in spots against a certain run of hitters, regardless of maybe the inning, and the ability to, go at least, it's not full multiple innings, but to go out there and maybe get 4 or 5 outs is a real big thing over the whole course of a season. So it's nice that we have guys that have done that in various spots, and then, can kind of keep some fluidity with, at parts of the games that, we can fire those bullets.
Couple more left with Clayton McCullough. What's your biggest baseball pet peeve? Like walks, getting picked off?
It walks. You're just playing with fire. I mean, and that's great here. We have, again, like pounding it with him, like, controlling the strike zone. I think like this game on both sides of the ball, like as all of the game is advanced in so many ways, I think it's still like who controls the line of scrimmage. In some ways, like offensively and defensively, it's the same. The teams that attack the strike zone and limit free passes, and offensively, the ability to force pitchers into the strike zone and control that over time, like, it leads to a lot of success. So, I mean, walks are just, it's hitters are really good now, and to, you put yourselves in a bind when you're given, free passes. I think we've seen that in some spring games here, like when we, just,
100%.
And it just comes back. Some days you get away with it, but it's not a real good recipe for success.
I'm totally with you. I don't know what kind of offense East Carolina runs, whether that's a spread or air raid or something. It sounds like you like run between the tackles kind of football, right?
Yeah, I guess so, right? Like that's still getting the guys up front are usually the ones who decide it.
Yeah.
100%. If you control that line of scrimmage, you got a pretty good chance of winning.
You're good. Yeah, I'm with you. I do have a question about the ECU family because I know that you fielded one yesterday because that's one of the more underappreciated baseball programs in America, I think. And you mentioned Cliff Godwin as a friend there. Connor Norby, an ECU Pirate. I look around the league. I see Alec Burleson. I see Gavin Williams. How tight is that alumni network? Just at East Carolina, like I'm thinking about them and Fullerton, obviously, Santa Barbara, some of those West Coast mid-majors. But that is a program that flies under the radar in college baseball.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the beauty about like baseball in North Carolina is very strong. There's a lot of Division I schools that maybe you got the North Carolinas, you have the Dukes and the Wakes and all like theirs. But East Carolina for a long time has had a really successful program and kind of built some on the blue collar type mentality. Sure. You kind of play off having the chip on your shoulder because
the tackles.
No one is ever really talking about you. Even with Cliff, I think he just won his 400th game at East Carolina, which is an incredible 10 or 11 years he's had there, and you see players like Connor that come from there, and that's kind of how Connor's cut. It's tough, it's he's hard-nosed. I think we always kind of took pride in that. I mean, this was years ago, but that was no one really thought that much of you, and right. Okay, great. So it's been probably a very sneaky successful program, like some longevity attached to it.
Speaking of the positional players, back to the Marlins, just offensively, like 2 questions. Never supposed to do this as a broadcaster, but I'm going to because we're breaking rules today. How long does it take to build an identity offensively, and what do you think that's going to look like? How is this team going to generate runs?
Yeah, it will take some time. I think the one thing we've tried to impress upon from day one was us taking advantage of being opportunistic on the bases, right? And there's certainly a stolen base component to that, but there's also just what you're doing with your secondaries and going first to third. The effort, that to me is like not really, I think that's just kind of a given, right? Yep. And I believe, we got a crew in here that likes to play, and but it is like, we can, independent of what your at bat does when you get out on the pillows, now you're running it for, the rest of the guys and the team, and the idea is to score runs. And hey, the more times we can get ourselves into scoring position on the bases and get to third base, less than 2 outs, like we'd in turn think that's going to lead to more run scoring. So I think that's something from day one, the bases being important. And then, offensively, PD, Show on our hitting side have been, again, controlling the strike zone. Like it's a real thing. We have a number of guys that have a ton of like bat to ball contact ability, which should allow you then to be okay getting into an at bat. Like, you don't have to, a lot of these guys don't have to get, a swing off right away. It's like, get another analogy. It's like shooting the 35-foot jump shot, with 30 seconds left in the shot clock. Like, you can always get that shot, right? But like, okay, we need to, just be more stubborn and disciplined to like what we want to hit. And if we go up there with a solid plan and you fire at what you want to hit and get a swing off, like that's, productive. Those things are within your control. So that'll be a big one. And it'll take some time because there's learning the league as well. Like, I mean, for many of our guys in the clubhouse, it's, be the first time they've seen a lot of these pitchers, and there's less secrets now. So, they're going to be attacked in ways, and now it's figuring out how are people attacking you, what type of adjustments do you need to then in turn make. But I think it's going to be continuing to pound on controlling the strike zone, and now, being stubborn and disciplined to your plan and your process.
Clayton, my last one for you is an Acosta question because he's really impressed and he showed up. I got my first look at him in person. I was like, you're a lot bigger than I was expecting you to be. What gets you excited about his game so far? He's starting again today.
Yeah, I think, defensively, he's been fantastic. Yeah. I think and that was the word, we got when, we acquire him, the deal goes down. This guy has a chance to, stick in the premium positions in the middle of the field and really defend. And so that right there gives him a really high floor. And, and offensively, he's another one, like he's always, put the ball in play, like, hasn't really punched a whole lot. So that's, great. And like I said, and it doesn't just drip off his bat. Like he's physical and he's still young. So we feel like he's going to get stronger as well and be able to, what type of home run power, but there could be some doubles in there and someone that can run an at bat, play really high quality defense. And that's what he's shown in this camp. And he's a standout young man too. I mean, he's been amazing. He just comes every day, like, smile on his face, like, asks questions, works hard, like, he's in the right spot. So he's made a really, really great impression on us in the early goings.
Cool. Clayton, thank you so much for the time. 25 days until opening day. Can I plug opening day real quick?
Yeah, of course.
So, obviously, Sandy Skeens, great opening day. Luis Fonzi.
Yeah.
Post-game concert. Flo Rida.
Flo Rida's
and
big.
Dan Marino. Throwing out the first pitch.
Wow.
How about that?
It's going to be a lot going on that day.
That had a lot going on that day.
Would you get in the crouch for Dan Marino? Opening day. It's your first day as a big league skipper. It's
I
okay
mean,
if you
Dan
opt out.
Marino's pretty special.
Come on.
Dan Marino is, he could sling it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you again for our Sunday sermons, Clayton's Corner, side sessions, whatever we want to call it. We'll talk to you next Sunday. We'll talk to you next Sunday, 25 days from opening day. All right,